Looks like it's working. Well, we'll just wait for people to join us. Hopefully we can get started right at 10 a.m. Thanks.
Good morning. Can everyone hear me?
I hear you just fine.
Thank you.
Okay. Got a couple more people to check in. Looks like we're able to start on time. Kind of mute my phone. There we go. That's the bell. Get started. All right. Looks like we have all the parties and staff representatives anyway are in attendance here. So let's get started. So welcome everyone. This is Docket 137 CE 215, the application of American Transmission Company for a CPCN in the project we're calling Elm Road-Racine Transmission Line Project. My name is Michael Newmark, the Administrative Law Judge for the PSC. We're here on Zoom with the applicant, intervener, and commission staff. And I'm just going to let somebody in here. And we're here to create the record in the case in terms of the party hearing session, the offered evidence we can receive from commission staff and the parties. We'll also be meeting tomorrow at the small gym in the Cesar Chavez Community Center in Racine to take public comment. We'll be beginning that session at 2 p.m. and we'll continue until everyone in attendance has had a chance to comment. And we'll start up again at 6 p.m. and do the same for new people with new comments. There's also an opportunity for the public to file written comments in lieu of testifying at the public hearing. The way to do that is to use our internet public comment webpage, which is being displayed on the screen share, taken from our notice of hearing. So there's the link to file online, and there's also a mailing address to mail a comment to us. Comments are due. They must be in the commission's hands by April 20th. So at this point, probably have, well, I won't say you'll have time to mail it, but I think the best bet is to send it through the internet link. Then we will get it instantly. Otherwise, you'll be subject to the timing of the mail. Even if you mail it before the deadline, we may not receive it by then. And I won't accept anything that we receive after the deadline. So comments and the evidence that we take today will be provided to the commissioners. And they'll use that information in their review of the application, and it'll be the only information that they can use to decide the application. Commissioners have the authority to approve, modify, or reject the application. We're also live streaming the hearing on YouTube. And I can show you the link to that on our notice of hearing. Public observation link here. That live stream will be turned into a recording, and it'll be available at the same link for the public to review. It's an unofficial version of the events that take place here today and at the public hearing session. The official version will be the written transcript that we create and will be filed on the IRF system. To get to the documents in the case, there's a link as well provided on the notice of hearing that you'll be able to find all the documents filed in the case, including the transcripts and the final decision. So I just wanted to give everyone a brief overview of that, especially if we have members of the public tuned in on the live stream. But at this point, we're at the party hearing session, so we're going to move on with getting appearances on the record. So we'll just start on the service list here with American Transmission Company.
Morning, Your Honor. David Zappo with Hush Blackwell, appearing for ATC, and also on the Zoom with me are Tricia Smith, also with Hush Blackwell, and John Sagoni, in-house at ATC.
All right, welcome. How about Citizens Utility Board?
Good morning, Your Honor. Daniel Narvey with the Citizens Utility Board.
All right, and then we have Myers Forsyth. Let me find you here and add you to the screen. Yeah, if you could unmute and turn on your camera, Will.
Your Honor, Will Myers for Myers Forsyth.
All right, thanks. And Public Service Commission.
Sophia Rogers for the Public Service Commission, and with me is my colleague, Michael Garcia.
Okay, great. So just that's off the record. Sophia, will you be doing most of the talking, or should I pin Mike to the screen as well? What do you?
I will be the star today.
The lead. Okay, all right, that's just fine.
Mike, you look great in your suit, as always.
Yeah, I know. I kind of wanted to pin him if
a shame.
He's all dressed up, but yeah. Okay. So all right, so we finished that part of the process. I think we can close that up. Move over to the offered evidence list, and the first item here is just to address whether I've identified the correct documents. We'll deal with any questions about my comments in the next round of questions, but just in terms of the documents identified on the list, are there any errors or omissions to that? We'll start with the applicant.
Judge, I don't have, didn't notice any errors or omissions.
All right, great, thanks. How about Myers Forsyth? Did I identify all the documents filed and offered for the record?
Correct, Your Honor. All the files there are correct.
All right, and commission staff?
Looks good to us as well.
Okay, great. So we'll turn back and ask for questions on the comments. Expand that a bit. Sorry if it's harder to see on the screen, but hopefully you've got a copy to follow along with. And I do want to mention I did send this out on the early afternoon yesterday to parties and staff. So just wanted to note for the applicant. So I just so you understand, everyone understands, I did try to include all the instances of the filings. For instance, like the application exhibit. I'm only going to receive the latest one. But I wanted to make sure we had that for reference in case we needed it at the hearing. I'll be issuing a received evidence list once all the refilings are in. That cleans this up and just presents to the commission all the documents that I've received and that we'll make available for their review. So just a note, I did see that the applicant filed a number of requests to correct their testimony. Thank you. I think that, that's the proper process. Just that when you do file those, I think in the past we had you file using the testimony IRF document type, but just wanted to standardize this. So it is a request. So if you please file it in the future as a motion. This way it also reminds people they're triggered that they can respond to the request if there's time. In this case, there probably wasn't really time to file a response, but just to keep the process consistent, anytime you're asking for a correction, that it should be filed under the motion document type. Otherwise, any other questions for the on the comments?
Not from ATC, Your Honor, and appreciate that clarification.
Yeah, I also want to note, this might not have come up in the past, or I might have missed it before, but in a number of instances, the ATC was referring to facilities owned by, I'm assuming it's Webco, Wisconsin Electric Power Company, and it, in the testimony, it's kind of a common, using a more common term, the We Energies or WEC. We just want to be careful to use the actual entity, and in this case, the utility that's owning a utility facility. So I did have that in the comments, but just something also to note for the future. I don't know if ATC really needed to do that before, but it looks like these cases are more connected to other utility facilities. So just be careful in the future to use the utility name. Otherwise, yeah. All right, so we'll move on to Myers-Forsyth. I had a couple of comments for you. Again, there's using the term We Energies, and I had you refile your direct, and you got it almost right. I really appreciate, as a first-time filer, doing this good of a job, because a lot of times it takes many repeat tries. The one thing that I noticed that we don't allow is the using that actual link in the testimony. So everything looked good except the link shouldn't be included. So when you're citing to a, say for example, citing to a filing, that should be enough. Although I guess that's actually, it should be rebuttal ATC Hendricks, not EX rebuttal. But then but what I'll need you to do for correcting is to correct just deleting that link. We don't want to have a link in the testimony. And the reason for that is these might get updated and changed, and we don't want to have a legacy document getting linked. Otherwise, we have to replace all the documents every time the links change as well. So when you see those, just refile your filings, just eliminating these links. Is that and I guess so. You did use. Actually, let me just check this to make sure. Yeah, so you're just referring to the testimony. So I didn't notice that before. I just want to just eliminate that EX dash, because that's not accurate at that point. You're actually referring to the rebuttal. So any questions about that?
Just so I'm clear, so
Yeah.
remove the links, keep the links, but remove the EX.
No. So let's just look at this one. So this page is your rebuttal 5. So on line 11, you're referencing rebuttal ATC Hendricks. You're not referencing any exhibit. So you want to delete the EX dot dash. So we know you're talking about rebuttal, not an exhibit. And then every time you see a hyperlink, this whole thing should just be deleted from the testimony. So just eliminate it completely.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm. All right, and commission staff, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
All right. So I did get I had some questions about the Feltus request to correct, and commission staff did respond to this directly to me, and I do understand now that it looks like this is properly filed under a request to correct, mainly because let me see if I can
remind you-
remember this now.
I can remind you if you like.
Yeah, well, let's just get the request up here. So for items 1 through 5, it changes the testimony with updates that were in the record at the time, but staff didn't have a chance to make that change.
What it is, Your Honor, is the application had the wrong numbers in it, and the applicant had noted the corrected numbers in its direct, which obviously was in at the time of commission staff's direct, but staff was going off of the active application at the time of direct and didn't catch this difference. So once we figured this out, we asked the applicant to correct the application, which it has done. And it also made some corrections in its testimony, and we've tried to do the same. The goal here is to just clean this up so that the commissioners don't have to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we handled it here.
Right. And then
and then that typo there, it was, as you noted, it interpreted correctly by the applicant. There was no actual confusion about
Right.
the outside of or during. It was just a
right. Yeah, so let me just explain. So for numbers 6 through 7, staff is changing terminology in its testimony, and what happened is on rebuttal, so the terminology was using the term outside of instead of the term during, the period of where oak tree trimming should not occur, and ATC read what staff, in response to staff on rebuttal, they actually read the statement without the error. They read it as if it was stated correctly.
Mhm.
So then there's no mismatch with the testimony. So there's always a problem if you're going back correcting something that was addressed in rebuttal. You really can't do that because you're taking things out of order. But here we're actually going back and making it align with the rebuttal. So that's it's just unusual, but I'm glad it worked out that way. So yeah, so you can correct the testimony according to the request for all of the items.
Thank you, Your Honor. And next time we'll try and be a little more thorough in the column, the reasons, to provide all of that background information that justifies the request.
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Just didn't know if there was any other. Okay. Okay. All right. That's great. Okay. So what I can do now is I'll accept all the documents listed on the offered evidence list. I'll accept that for the record pending verification and refiling for the corrections that are indicated in the offered evidence list. There's a schedule for how to do that in the pre-hearing conference memo, schedule and instructions on how to refile. So at this point, let's just look into if there's anyone we can excuse, or if the parties and staff want to excuse someone to whom there's no cross-examination questions. Anyone from the applicant need to be excused, or will you call them all?
Judge, we were hoping to excuse 3 witnesses who I believe there were no indications of cross-examination for, and that would be and others can correct me if I'm wrong, but that would be Jeremy Voigt, Michael Dagenhart, and Megan Lind. We just asked that they be excused so that they can verify by affidavit.
All right, great. So let me ask, first I'll start with the interveners. So any objections from Cub on the Voigt, Dagenhart, and Lind being excused?
None here.
How about Myers Forsyth? Any objections there?
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay. And could you turn on your camera, please? There we go. Thanks. All right. So we'll put them in as excused. I'm sorry, Commission staff. Any objections there?
No, Your Honor.
They'll be excused, so the affidavits will come in according to the schedule we have on the pre-hearing conference memo. I'm assuming, Will, you'll want to speak, take the stand. You're here, so anyone we can excuse from commission staff?
No, everyone will stay. Thanks.
All right. Okay, that's good. So we can get started in just a second. First, let me just ask if there's any items, outstanding issues we need to address before we take our witnesses.
None from ATC, Your Honor.
Okay. Not hearing from anybody else. All right, so I did want to raise an issue before we get started. A new innovation. You guys, yeah, you're probably used to this. So this is an issue that kind of came to my mind reviewing the record. I know that I've asked commission staff to look into this for purposes of the application filing requirements in future cases, but I'm wondering if we can just touch base on this, possibly see if we can get something filed in this case, and I can give you some extra time on that if necessary, but this case is, along with a few in the recent past, this case raises some issues with our maps, and it's simply looking at the proposal. Because the proposed routes overlap existing routes, the maps that I think are generally mostly consumed by the public, or we reference the public, direct the public to, don't really show the impact of the project, along the multiple lines and how that would look before and after. So it's really difficult to see if the preferred line is chosen, how that would look on the ground in relation to its existing, in relation to the existing system. So I'm wondering if putting the idea out there is to have several other maps filed. So there would be one that shows the existing layout of existing infrastructure prior to the project, and then I think it's, to keep things simple, especially the way this case has developed, to simply have another map with the preferred route and how it would look if approved alongside the existing system, and then do the same for the alternate route. So what it would look like if that was approved and in relation to the existing system, so that we could just make sure we understand, like, in terms of what the applicant was proposing, what's going to get upgraded, possibly double circuited, and sort of try to give us a better understanding of where the new line would be laid on the ground as opposed to the existing line, in terms of how it would appear in the real world. Because at this point, it's this map just lacks that kind of clarity, that granularity, and because the lines are overlapping, it's hard to tell what the impact, just from looking at it as a snapshot, what the impact would really be. So I know this wasn't required. It wasn't a filing requirement for the application, but I think it would be a useful tool to assist in this case, and it's something that I think staff should look into for the AFRs going forward. But so I'm just curious, get ATC's position on that, and if it would be willing to file. Basically, it would be the three new maps: the existing system on its own, existing with the preferred route, and existing with the alternate route.
Judge, I think it's something we can certainly look into. I think though, if you scroll to the right here,
Mm-hmm.
and to look at the legend, I mean, there is an indication there of existing transmission lines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe some of that is getting swallowed up by the highlighting designating the routes.
That's part of the problem. Yeah, it could be more, to some extent there's a formatting problem. And I guess if you zoomed in very closely, you could see, and then go back to the key, you can see that there's, well, it's a little tricky still.
Yeah. So I guess is the general idea to just make those more apparent or more obvious in some manner so that it's clear, to your point, where new infrastructure is paralleling existing or where it's greenfield or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if it's done the way I was envisioning, it would fall out of the problems would fall away. So if we're just looking at putting in where you think the actual preferred route would lay on the map alongside the existing route, or if it's double circuited, show that it's double circuited, and then do the same for the alternate route in a separate map, so that it's clear that these are going to be parallel, or they're going to be one double circuited, or they're going to be one's on the left, one's on the right. So instead of using a highlight, I would just use a line and then a different colored line for existing and proposed, and then it would be more clear for people just to get a sense of what it would look like on the ground if you actually got approval for preferred or the alternate.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we can kind of, so that map wouldn't really need the highlighting. It would just need lines, and the lines would just need to indicate. I think there was another case where I saw there's actually it's on the online map where it actually says double circuited at some point. So that's really good information for people to see. But I think having a map, like a snapshot like this, is really useful to show to the public and to have sort of on hand as a quick reference.
Yeah,
yeah.
Oh, sorry, Judge.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think, as you know, there's also more detailed maps that show it closer to segment by segment. Mm-hmm. I can't recall right now if those show the existing lines as well, because that might sort of get at the request that you're making here. For example, what is this? Appendix A, figure 3, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Let's see. So you can see there, yeah, I guess it's still, there's still the highlighting there, so maybe it's still a little difficult to see. But I think that line in black, is intended to represent one of our existing facilities. So I don't know if that, and then we also have the Appendix A, Figure 4, which has the environmental detail. I don't know if that has as much, I don't think it does have as much infrastructure detail, but these that go, more segment by segment, it's easier to see. So I don't know if that sort of satisfies your request. I mean, I certainly I can talk with ATC about putting together a summary map along the lines you suggested, but I don't know if this would sort of meet the spirit of that request.
Yeah, I think it'd be useful to see the project as a whole, and these maps are useful for digging into the specifics, but they are and it's hard to. I understand this is probably the best that can be done, but they are hard to navigate and difficult for the public to sort of digest all the details and try to find a spot on the map that they're interested in. So just to get an overview of sort of before and after and preferred versus alternate, it would be a good addition. So it's also, one of the points I think we should note is that it's hard, we have sort of these highlights, but it's not clear if any of this would be double circuited, or where the 345 is running as opposed to the proposed route. If it's is it trying to show that they're running that border, or because they seem to could be seen like they're overlapping to some extent. It's just a little tricky to get all that information off of this picture, and if there's a way, if we can eliminate that and provide more information in a sort of a summary picture, that would be useful, I think.
Okay. Yeah, we can take that back, and to your point, more of the summary map like you first showed. We may need to break it into a couple pages, not to the level of detail we were just looking at, but just given the extent here. But I think I understand what you're looking for, and we can certainly look at that. In terms of the logistics of the filing, like, would you like that as another appendix to the application, or how should we style that? Do you have any preference there?
Why don't we just make it an ATC exhibit? Just call it, and so we'll mark it now. Let's mark it EX.-ATC- comparison map.
Okay.
And just file it as an exhibit, and that won't be. We won't need to update the application exhibit for that. We'll just stand on its own.
Okay.
Your Honor,
What do you? Any comments there?
yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. Just one note while we're at this topic, when looking at this internally, and we didn't flag this at any point to the applicant, but we noticed, or we realized that the red line right below the marker segment K, it's not marked that way, but it's double circuited. So if we could get that clarified in the new map, that would be great.
Yeah. So I think when we're talking about what the existing system looks like, there should be some label or some indication of what's double circuited, what's single circuited, so that people can understand. Well, we have a double circuit line. There's going to be a parallel single circuit next to it, or there's a single circuit here, and you propose to double circuit. So there need to be labels or distinctions for informing people what the nature of the existing system is, not just where it is, but like what's the the voltage and double circuit, single circuit. I think that's probably all we need in terms of information on the map, and then the additional map would have what it would look like if one alternative versus the other is approved. Again, it would be saying, now we're switching this line to double circuit. We're paralleling this line, the existing line with a single circuit, so people can follow along with the case.
Okay. Yeah. I'll have to check with ATC, but I think that should be doable.
Sure. All right. Yeah, just contact me with any questions, because I'm sure something will come up.
And in terms of timing, Your Honor,
I don't really have a deadline. I mean, if you guys just maybe just check back in a week and see if something's already filed. It's fine. Just let me know in a week if there's some holdup.
Understood. Yeah, we won't drag our feet, certainly.
Yeah.
But we'll keep you all apprised.
Okay, excellent. Thanks.
Your Honor, if I may speak as well.
Can I just ask, Mr. Myers, can you turn up your volume because it's really quiet? I don't know if he's quiet for everybody else, but
Yeah, or maybe just getting closer to the mic.
How's that?
Oh, yeah, that's
Okay.
much better.
Perfect. Yeah, go ahead.
If I just may speak on this request too, Your Honor.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say again, as a private landowner impacted by this project, I think just the more information that when these projects are mailed out can be given, the better. Again, as you said, as a first timer going through this process, not every property owner is as tech savvy or resourceful as us. Like, they're not going to know how to navigate the docket search with the specific maps and everything. So I know that motion has already been put into place, but I would heavily push with all future projects too. Any more detailed maps that are mailed out initially, I think should be a requirement from the applicant, by the applicant.
Okay, appreciate that. All right, so I think we're good to start taking our witnesses. If I can find the document somewhere in this mess. Here we go.
Is there any way you can move Sophia up? Because I can't see her.
Oh,
I don't know if she's on a second page or what, but
she's maybe, so I don't know.
I can
So
see the
she's
top of her
actually-
head.
Oh, you're not seeing her completely? Is that?
Just the top of her head.
That's all you need, Debbie.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I see her clearly. I'm not sure why you're not. Maybe it's something you can adjust. So,
It's okay. I mean, I can understand her clearly. I just, wanted to see the wonderful face.
you should
How about
be.
that?
Oh, there she is.
Huh, that's odd.
Yeah,
Well,
it is kind of weird.
Let me try this. And see if I don't know if I can do this.
Because I can't move anybody on my end.
Well, I can actually, how about we do this? How about I release that? I think you should be able to change the order now.
Oh, yeah. There she is. Everybody's up on top. Thank you.
Yeah, you have to pin people yourself then, I think.
Okay.
Okay, so let's get started then with the applicant's witnesses. So go ahead, Attorney Zappo, and call your first witness.
Thanks, Your Honor. ATC calls Garrett Nyman.
Good morning.
All right, I see you there. Raise your right hand. You swear or affirm, tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
All right. Take it away, Attorney Zappo.
Thanks, Your Honor. Mr. Nyman, did you file or cause to be filed direct testimony, rebuttal testimony, a request to correct your direct testimony, and the application exhibit in this matter?
I did.
If I asked you the same questions in your pre-filed testimony today, would your answers be the same?
Yes.
Is the information in your pre-filed testimony true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, it is.
With that, Your Honor, the witness is available for cross.
Okay. So let's see if there's any questions for witness Nyman. Start with the interveners. No? Yeah?
I have one, Your Honor, or a couple, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Okay.
So just introduce yourself to the witness before you ask a question.
All right. Will Myers, representing Myers Forsyth. I have to raise my hand, correct?
No, you're good.
Okay.
The witness is sworn, so you can ask questions.
Okay. Appreciate it. Mr. Nyman, you are the project manager that oversees the timelines related to this project, correct?
Yes.
Okay. On March 4th, a red line certified of public convenience was submitted. On page 2 of 97, the construction date is revised to second quarter of 2028, originally from 2026. Can you confirm this is the new construction date timeline?
I'm going to object as vague as to construction date timeline.
Okay, can we just be more specific about the date that you're asking about?
Yeah, so in the certified, in the red line, a certified or certificate of public convenience issued or submitted March 4th. On page 2 of 97 of the PDF, the construction date, the anticipated construction date is revised. So begin of the project, like break ground, that's what I would assume. Originally, it was October 2026. Now it is stating anticipated second quarter of 2028. So 2 years plus from now.
That is accurate.
Okay.
And just so we're clear, is Meyer's description of that date correct? That would be the date that ATC would break ground.
Well, Judge, can we maybe pull up the portion of the application being referenced just so the witness can see and confirm?
Sure, let's go off the record for that. So the record, we're using the final version, not the red line, but I understand it was page 2.
Yeah, so
Okay,
it's not page 2 of the like submitted PDF, it's page 2 of 97. I think there's a couple yes, correct, right there.
So let me just check off here. So this is version 5 of the. Okay, sorry. This is version 5. I'm not sorry.
That's the right version.
This is the right version, March 27th. Yeah, not version 5. And if we scroll down to the page 2 of the document, we do see the schedule here. So, sorry. So it says construction is scheduled to begin second quarter of 2028. And I suppose, so my question was just to have the witness confirm that it's intended, what is intended by that statement is that ATC will break ground in this, on this project at that time frame indicated in the application. Is that your understanding of that statement, witness Nyman?
Yes.
Are you still off?
No, we're not off. I start talking official, so all right, let's get back.
Sorry, it started kind of, but then I'm like
started kind of unofficial. I know. Okay, so let's read back the last thing you got there, Debbie.
Let's go off the record.
No.
Judge, can we maybe pull up the portion of the application being referenced just so that the witness can see and confirm? And then you went off the record.
Okay, all right, let's get back on the record.
That's why I was sitting here with my hands.
Yeah, but I'm not watching you. Why I'm not? I don't know why. All right, so we have the application in front of us, page 2 of the March 27th version, and we have a schedule section does indicate that, and I'll read this from the page, construction is scheduled to begin in the second quarter of 2028. So we would like the witness to confirm that witness's understanding of that statement is that ATC will break ground on the project during that time frame. Is that correct, witness Nyman?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. I think we got that clarified. So continue with your questions, Will Myers.
Okay. So given the original aggressive timeline of construction starting within a month after the public service decision scheduled for September 2026, what is the true cause of pushing out construction this far?
Sure. ATC had originally planned to do some field data collection work in support of the engineering, but prior to receipt of the CPCN, that is an atypical practice, but by doing so, it would have allowed us to meet our original in-service date. That was the prior version prior to the redlining. After further evaluation, ATC determined that we would be able to wait until the receipt of the CPCN and still meet the needs drivers for the project.
Okay. So I guess then should be my final question. So I guess as we've discussed, given now that you have nearly 2 years until construction begins, do you agree that your team has sufficient time to perform a full engineering and cost study of the Osgood partial option as discussed in numerous data requests.
So with the way we do our process is we do preliminary review as part of the routing and siting. It's a thorough process, but it's not detailed engineering. That is not done until we receive the CPCN, at which time it becomes prudent to perform those detailed engineering activities.
Okay. I'll have to take your word for it. I had one more question, but it might be more appropriate for the next witness. So I yield back, Your Honor.
Okay. I mean, you can ask, and the witness can confirm that if you want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if that's fine in that case, then. So obviously for us, very interested in the timeline. So if you can answer, Garrett, but it's fine if you can't. So if the project is moved out for 2 years, well, no, never mind. The project is moved out for 2 years. What does that look like for potential land acquisitions and easements and everything that comes with prepping the route?
Sure. So to clarify, you referenced that there's been a 2-year delay here. I'd like to correct that is we have the time here that's relative to today's date, but the delay of the project when it was submitted, it was not a 2-year delay. It was closer to a 1-year delay, moving our original in-service date from what would have been January of 28 to what we see here today on the application to February of 29. In general, to answer your question, and I would encourage this to be asked of the further witnesses, it would inline delay those activities, in the same order of magnitude, roughly a year from where we would have been. But that's a general, but they could give you more detail.
I look forward to it. Okay, I yield back.
All right, thanks. So let's see. Let me just confirm. No questions from Cub. That's right. Okay.
No questions. No.
All right. And commission staff.
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning, witness Nyman. I'm Sophia Rogers from commission staff. How are you?
Very well. Good morning.
Good morning. I have a couple questions for you, and I'll just start with the ones that follow closely with the scheduling questions that you just answered. So I'd like to turn to your rebuttal, Judge. Oh, you've got it right there. Could you go to page 2, please? On page 2, I'm looking at line 10. Starting at line 10, it says that ATC has continued to evaluate expected future conditions in an effort to best match up facility and service dates with customer needs. And so when I read that, I thought that there might be something changing on the customer end. What you just clarified with Mr. Myers seems to be something more to do with the construction schedule itself and what needed to occur in what sequence. Is that correct?
So to clarify, there is components of it. As a utility, we evaluate our system based on the needs drivers. In our application, we identify that there are in fact multiple needs drivers for this. My apology would be to Mr. Myers for not including the second part. There are components of this where, given the loads projected in the area and the needs drivers for the project, that we did have the ability, and that's what I meant when I said that we have the ability to still meet the needs drivers of the project. We meet the needs of our customers while not taking on the additional risk of doing things ahead of receipt of CPCN.
Appreciate the clarification. Are you able to elaborate on the changes in the timing of the customer needs?
Yes, we evaluated the customer needs, and we had the ability to defer the in-service of the project. So the customer need state did allow us under an iterative review that we could then still meet their needs by pushing out the in-service date.
Okay, and does the delay, the 13-month delay, does that have potential to change the cost of the project? And if so, in what direction?
So the delay of the project, would be subject to market costs at that time, as things tend to fluctuate. There would be additional escalation of dollars since we are 13 months later, and the inflation that would be associated with that. So in general, the project could go up slightly, but again, would be subject to market rate at the time.
So at this time, does ATC not plan to make any purchases for another 13 months after it normally would have?
So not necessarily. ATC generally buys things that we would reuse or use for the project, right? And some of those activities begin early. So there would likely be some components that are long lead that are purchased ahead of, of time. So that said, there would be things that we could postpone the ordering of, and that's just relative to waiting for the CPCN and seeing, or the order or the route selected.
Okay, so I'm hearing some materials you could potentially purchase sooner and maybe save a bit of money, but other materials and maybe labor are going to have that inflationary increase.
In general, that I would agree with that statement.
All right, thank you very much. I have another question, and this follows a data request that has your name on it along with a few of your colleagues. And so if you're able to answer the question, please do. But if you're not, I'll redirect it. Judge, do you mind pulling up? I have the reference number. It's in the DRR exhibit, and it's the data request PSCW KJF 5.2, and all the numbers will be unique, so you can you'll be able to scroll to it. .2, there we go. If you'll click on that response, please. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna give you this is I'm actually gonna be looking at a supplemental data request response that came in pretty recently, and we haven't yet updated this exhibit. So I'm gonna ask you to pull up a reference number and promise that we will be offering this in our revisions to the data request response exhibit.
Sure. Okay, let me get to that.
Thank you, Your Honor. 586-627. And then it'll be on page 2. So witness Nyman, the judge has pulled up for us data request response, PSCW KJF 5.2. If you don't mind scrolling down to page 2, Your Honor, there is a cost paragraph at the bottom of page 2, cost estimate. So here we see an estimate of $7 million. And witness Nyman, did you help prepare this part of the response?
I was a component of it, but I did not perform the calculation.
Okay. And do you know who performed that calculation?
I would redirect to Gabe Nelson.
Okay, I can do that. No further questions for you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. So I did have a follow-up question from the earlier set of questions related to your rebuttal, witness Nyman. So just Attorney Rogers did read that sentence from page 2 of your testimony, and it did indicate that the ATC was matching its facility and service dates to best match up with customer needs. And I was just curious, when you said customer, to what were you referring to?
When we look at our customers, we evaluate the load in the area. So that would be all of the rate base that we serve, you know. So when we talk about pushing out the projects in service here, a moment just to read exactly as it is written. You know, we talk about the customer needs. So we're interconnecting in this project as applied has multiple needs drivers in our application where we discuss that. There's both generation and load growth in the area. So we're matching to meet our customer needs. We had our planning group perform an evaluative study based on loading in the area, and we're able to defer the project to mitigate risk.
What risk are you mitigating?
So doing activities prior to receipt of the CPCN, you know, as I referenced earlier, that the driver here, this allows us to not have to do data exploratory activities out in the field prior to receipt of the CPCN. So, you know, we were able to do that.
So when we're talking about customer needs, was there a delay in the needs that customers were driving?
The load ramp was reviewed, and it was not as sharp as originally planned, or at least into our interpretation of it. So, you know, from our perspective as a utility, being able to re-review that at times allowed us to go and, you know, defer the project as you've seen here.
And do you know why that was the case?
I do not.
Okay. When you say the customers, so we're talking about generation, and also there's end user demand. Are both of those included in what you're referring to as customer needs?
So in this one, it would be the consumption customers.
Okay. So it's not related to generation, the interconnection of new generation to the area.
It's a complicated question to answer.
Okay. Yeah,
just because there's multiple needs drivers. When we evaluated it, it was the consumption customers that we were able to shift the in-service date out. The demand in the area.
And that timing has changed since the proposal was first designed?
Yes.
Okay. And you don't know the extent of the magnitude of that demand change?
I do not.
Is there anyone else attending the hearing that would be able to answer that?
I would ask David Zappo for comment on our witnesses.
Judge, I don't know that we have any other witness who can speak to that specifically.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. I guess that's it for me. So we'll turn it out. So let me just ask if there's any follow-ups based on what I've asked from any of the parties and staff. Okay, so let's have redirect then.
I just have some very brief redirect, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Nyman, Attorney Rogers was asking you some questions about how the change in the project schedule could affect the project costs. Do you remember that line of questioning?
I do.
Okay. To the best of your knowledge, sitting here today, is the cost estimate that ATC has provided in its application still accurate?
Yes.
I think you had also mentioned that general inflation or escalation could potentially increase project costs, correct?
I did make that statement.
Is it also possible that there is no impact from inflation or escalation on the project costs?
Yes, that's true.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay. Yeah, I guess let me just go off the record for a second. I guess I'm a little confused because I guess we heard that the cost will change to some extent, but the estimate is still accurate. Is that because there's the contingency? And I'll direct that to you, Attorney Zappo. Is that what we were getting at there?
I think, Your Honor, just the point is that it could, we can't, I don't think the witness said that there will be. I think he said that there could be inflation or escalation that could increase project costs. And I guess the point of my sort of questions there was just to say, well, it could be the other way too. I mean, just sitting here today, we can't project what's going to happen with perfect accuracy in the next 4 or 5 years, basically.
Right, but I think we generally understand that delays cause increases. Is that not a general concept that we all sort of accept? Or
I think it depends, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we can sit here and say for certain that this delay is going to cause a cost increase. So it certainly it can cause, and we've seen that, over the last 5 years, not just with ATC, but with, all over the country. So I'm not disputing that as a general premise, just saying that it's tough to speculate about this specific project sitting here today, what's going to happen to costs over the next 5 years, 4 years, whatever it is before it goes into service.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll leave it at that. I guess if there is some I guess one way to solve this, or maybe get the record to be more in a better position on this issue, is to have ATC file some sort of new estimate based on what the new in-service date and the new construction schedule.
Your Honor, perhaps the witness could clarify what portion of costs might be subject to inflationary pressures, and what portion, of sort of maybe material costs could be locked down now. That the witness explained that ATC does make purchases when it can, but it can't control the labor and the labor costs at the time of construction. So maybe we could get a little bit more about what ATC might do to prevent cost overruns in the event of inflationary pressure at the time of construction. And I don't know if witness Nyman is prepared to speak to that, but I think I want to know about mitigation.
I don't know if that's something we can expect someone to sort of explain accurately, in the hot seat. And we do have sort of a general description of what costs may be increasing, and which the ATC may be able to secure ahead of time. But to sort of nail down where we're at this point in time and what the costs are anticipated to be with the new schedule, the only really way to handle that would be to have them file some new cost estimate. So
I guess to that I'd say, Judge, the witness did just state that the current estimate, to the best of his knowledge, is accurate today. I don't know that the change in, I don't know that we'd be prepared to make an update, basically. I can't say for certain. I'm kind of speculating here myself, but I don't know that we'd have anything different to offer.
Okay. Well, the issue's been raised. I guess commission can investigate that further if it wants to. All right. So this point, we'll move on. So let's get back on the record. Let's excuse witness Nyman, and let's call our next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. ATC next calls Gabriel Nelson.
Okay, let me switch the screen here. Just going to return to our out there. All right, witness Nelson, I see you there. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm, tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Do.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Nelson, did you file or cause to be filed direct testimony, a request to correct your direct testimony, and rebuttal testimony in this proceeding?
Did.
If I asked you the same questions in your pre-filed testimony today, would your answers be the same?
Yes.
Is the information in your pre-filed testimony true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
It is.
Okay. Your Honor, I just had a couple questions for the witness in response to Mr. Myers' rebuttal testimony.
Go ahead.
Mr. Nelson, at pages 3 and 4 of Mr. Myers' rebuttal, and I'll give the judge a chance here to pull it up so we're all looking at it. So starting on the bottom of page 3, maybe the top of page 4. Sorry, Your Honor. Mr. Myers encourages the commission to have ATC, quote, perform a full engineering study and cost analysis of the Osgood parcel option to get solid cost figures of this alternate plan. Do you have any response to that recommendation?
So all the routes presented in the application are based on preliminary design and construction plans. At this stage, project-related engineering design is preliminary in nature because final engineering design requires field data. It is costly and time-consuming, and so it is not typically completed for all proposed routes before a project is approved. If the commission approves the project, then ATC will obtain access to all properties along the approved route to collect required information such as survey data, soil borings, and the location of any underground utilities. ATC will also collect property-specific information offered by the landowners. During final design and engineering, ATC will refine the transmission line design and construction plans to avoid or minimize impacts and make the design compliant with all applicable design standards. As such, the design and cost estimates ATC prepared for the Osgood parcel option are necessarily preliminary in nature. If, however, the commission approves construction of the Osgood parcel option, then ATC will incorporate that route adjustment into its final engineering design for the project, at which point it will have a more detailed understanding of the costs and specific engineering details for that route adjustment.
Okay, thank you. And then also here on page 4, Mr. Myers recommends, same paragraph at the top there, that ATC create a collaborative construction plan with the owner of the gas pipeline that is being constructed north of his property. What is your response to that testimony?
ATC has already had communications with the gas pipeline owner, We Energies, both during the project's routing and siting process, and more recently regarding the Osgood parcel option. Based on those conversations, ATC believes the Osgood parcel option is constructible, but we'll need to coordinate further with We Energies as described in the PSC direct rebuttal. Exhibit PSCW KJF-6.1. If the commission approves construction of this option, this coordination may result in adjustments to the preliminary design for the Osgood parcel option.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. That's all the questions I have, and the witness is now available for cross.
Okay. So I just wanted to confirm, witness Nelson, you're talking about a data request response, KJF 6.1?
Yes. Thank you.
And when you said We Energy, did you mean to say Wisconsin Electric Power Company?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. So cross, we'll start with Cub. Any questions?
I do have a couple of questions, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead.
This witness. And could you pull up page 6 of witness Nelson's rebuttal?
Yes. Looks like we're there.
All right, great. And let me introduce myself first. I'm Daniel Narvi. I'm the attorney for the Citizens Utility Board, Mr. Nelson. I just have a couple of questions about this section of your rebuttal testimony. On this page of your testimony, you're addressing the Osgood parcel option, and you describe the potential impacts to a future project. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
Has that future project been applied for? Has an application been submitted to the commission yet?
No, it has not.
Can you share any detail about where the applicant is on that project in terms of the planning or budgeting?
I don't know precisely. I'm vaguely aware that the project is intending to file at some point soon. I believe at the end of this year, but I'm not certain of that. That may change.
In your testimony, you describe that if the Osgood parcel option were approved, that it would pull into this project scope of work from that future project. Is that accurate?
It's not 100% certain that it will be pulling in exactly one-to-one scope. If we did a portion of that potential rebuild as part of this, if we carried out the Osgood parcel option, we would try to work with that project team to construct something that fits with their plans for that project, but I think we would be placing some constraints on their flexibility and their design with us being ahead of them. There may be other impacts to their project. So in some ways it is pulling their scope forward into ours, but in some ways it may not be exactly one-to-one and efficient.
Okay, so as you're sitting here today, you don't know for sure whether that Osgood parcel option would really have any impact on the costs of that new project, even if that new project goes forward?
Can't be certain of it. We presented it as an option because we thought it was constructible to address the spirit of the request from Mr. Myers.
Do you have any estimate as to what the impact of the costs might be to the new project if the Osgood parcel option were pursued?
Can't say I have specific numbers. In my opinion, it would be close in magnitude to the amount spent that we pulled forward. But again, it may not be an efficient one-to-one transfer of dollars from that project to this.
Okay, thank you. No further questions for this witness.
All right, thanks. Mr. Myers, any questions?
Yeah, I do. So regarding the
Just
Oswald,
introduce yourself to the witness first.
sorry,
Okay.
Will Myers of Myers Forsyth. Regarding cost to perform the engineering study that I propose, you mentioned it's costly and timely. I asked you how much is the cost and how much time is there to perform such a study that I'm requesting?
Don't have I don't have a good idea of the exact costs that it would take, or the time that it would take to do that. Um,
Can you spitball an estimate for me?
Objection calls for speculation.
Okay. So, as we've discussed, the project we are discussing today, construction timing has been pushed out to 2028. And my apologies if you already discussed this with the previous party. What would the timeline for this new proposed transmission line, the current one, rebuild? How would that be impacted? Would they be built the same time? Would this one be rebuilt after the Elm Road to Racine is in service? Would it be before?
So just so we're clear, you're talking about the ATC is proposing the rebuild and convert the double circuit 320 kV line to 345 kV, and the timing of that project versus the timing of the proposed project in this case.
That is correct, Your Honor.
to accomplish this proposed option, the 230 kV line would have to be rebuilt and shifted to the north prior to us constructing the main project in this application. So essentially moving it out of the way prior to building this project.
Can you clarify for me the purpose of moving it out of the way? What does that mean?
The reason to move it out of the way to the north, the existing 230 kV double circuit line, the purpose of constructing that prior, moving it to the north, would be to eliminate the primary concern. Basically, the reason for us providing this Osgood parcel option as a response to that suggested crossover, of the 230 kV lines. I apologize. I don't know the exact exhibit, and I see you nodding, Your Honor. I don't know if you could pull up maybe the suggested reroute by Mr. Myers.
Oh, Mr. Myers. Let's go off the record. I think I have it close. I don't know if that's quite the question that's being asked, but
Okay.
But I think it's. Let me see if we can be more clear about the question. Is your question, Mr. Myers, which project would come first, the current proposal using the Osgood option, or this potential project that has not yet been applied for that would upgrade the 230 kV line to 345?
You are correct.
Okay, so just in terms of the timing of the current project versus this potential not yet applied for project, how do those interrelate in terms of timing?
I apologize.
Yeah.
Are you back on?
Yes, back on, yeah.
Can you ask that again?
Oh, sure, I guess I should. Okay.
Well,
So,
I didn't.
yeah, no, you're right. So in terms of, just to clarify Mr. Meyer's question, I think we're looking for the witness's understanding of how the timing between the proposed project, in this case, using the Osgood option, would compare to the timing of any project approved that has not yet been applied for, and that would upgrade the 230 kV line to 345 in the same area.
I don't know the exact timelines or the requested in-service date of the 230 kV rebuild project that has not yet been filed. But just given the at least given typical timelines of our transmission line projects, that would happen after this proposed project in this application.
And with that proposed project, do you anticipate expanded easements or right-of-ways required, since you are upgrading the size of transmission line with that rebuild?
I would object on foundation grounds.
Well, that's tricky. I mean, it's an upgrade from 230 to 345, so generally speaking, the witness knows how that might impact a right-of-way. The witness can answer that.
I'd say, generally speaking, we treat 230 kV and 345 kV corridors pretty similarly from a width perspective. But I can say that some existing lines have smaller current right-of-ways than we would desire for a new project, a new 345 kV project. But for the specific upcoming rebuild, I don't know exactly what the design parameters are.
And if I remember correctly, with the preliminary information provided from the Osgold parcel option, the right-of-way required for the rebuild would be accounted for in that option. What I'm trying to get at is how much are these projects going to impact my land? These are the reasons why I'm asking these questions.
So the Osgood parcel option, as we proposed it, at least the idea of it was to maintain our existing easement, or the southern border, the existing southern border of that easement that is currently to the north of your property. So those 230 kV lines as they exist to the north of your property, our Osgood parcel option, the idea behind it is to maintain that same border. There would be a different line directly adjacent, because we'd be shifting the existing ones rebuilt further north and then come through with this new line along the similar alignment of those existing lines. So, but trying to maintain that same southern easement border that exists currently. So more impacts to the north.
And if I can just interject, Judge, here, it may help to pull up a map. At least it's always helpful to see a map when we're talking about stuff like this. And there is one in attachment A to our response to data request 5.2. I think this will kind of illustrate the point that witness Nelson was just making.
Okay, let's go off the record. Is that something in the data request? Oh, I think I see it here. Let's see if we get the right one. So it looks like, just zoom in here. So it looks like a map of KJF 5.2. Is that what we're...
Yes, Your Honor, this is the one.
Okay, great. So let's get back on the record. So yes, thank you, Attorney Zappo. At your request, we're displaying attachment A to the ATC's response to KJF 5.2. the map of, well, let's make sure we have the witness just explain what that is and how we want to use it here.
Yeah, I think this is helpful to illustrate.
Great.
You'd like me to just kind of talk about what's on it?
Well, this is the Osgood proposal from ATC's standpoint, is that right?
That's correct.
And it's in the yellow lines show that.
Correct.
Okay, all right. So I'm sorry. Let's get back on the record.
I'm on.
You're on. Okay, you're with me. All right.
You said back on the record.
Did I? Okay, good. Okay, so great. So we're good. So at this point, with this visual, is there something we can add to the testimony, or is it just helpful to have that in front of us? Is there any additional clarification you want to make, or no?
No, I don't know if there's any new information to share other than, yeah, this is helpful. You can see actually within the yellow borders there, you can see the shadows of the existing towers of those 230 kV lines. And so the idea is the lines carried by those towers would be rebuilt, shifted to the north. And then our preferred route, shown in blue, would then be shifted further north off of Mr. Meyer's property to generally follow the existing, what we understand to be the existing southern easement boundary of those 230 kV lines.
Okay, so the map doesn't show the shift in segment E and F to the new location. It shows the existing proposed location that came before this option was developed.
Correct. It shows them both as a comparison. So blue line as proposed, and then yellow is the Osgood parcel corridor that we would need for our project and the rebuilt 230 kV lines.
Okay. Okay. All right. So anything else on this, Mr. Myers?
So I just want to confirm one more time. It's kind of a similar issue we had in the beginning. So those yellow lines, those are the proposed boundaries of the right-of-way associated with the Osgood parcel option. It's hard to see on this map. I just want to confirm that they are respecting the current property line that's in white.
And just to clarify, you're referring to the solid yellow lines because they're solid and dotted.
That is correct. The solid yellow lines.
That was the intent of the proposal. Yeah.
So then based off of this map, it is my understanding that if this project moves forward with the Osgood parcel option, while also keeping in mind that other proposed rebuild, no right-of-way would be added to the parcel A that you see here on this map. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. I yield back, Your Honor.
All right. Thanks. Commission staff, any questions?
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning, witness Nelson. I'm Sophia Rogers from Commission staff. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
I just lost you on my screen. Let me pull you up. There you are. So we had some similar questions to my colleagues here. Not a ton remaining. But I wanted to ask you about the data request response that we took a look at earlier. Judge, do you mind pulling up?
All right, we have to go off the record. I think I may have release that from my screen. Let's. Do you have the PSC number?
Yep,
again?
I do. Yeah, 586627.
586627.
And looks like you have the right part of it, or it was bottom of page 2.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Are we on?
I don't.
You want to be?
I don't know. Are we on?
You were not, but do you want to be?
Yes, we should be on the record. Thanks.
Okay.
So witness Nelson, we're looking at data request response PSCW KJF 5.2, bottom of page 2. And I saw that you were one of the authors on this data request response. Did you contribute to this cost estimate portion? I didn't quite hear you.
Yes, I did.
Thank you. So we're interested in the statement in there. It says ATC estimates that this additional work would increase project costs by approximately $7 million. Did you write that?
Yes.
Can you elaborate on how you calculated that number?
So we used some of our estimating tools that we used for preliminary engineering. Looked at the scope of, I believe, installing 7 structures. I apologize. I may not be exactly accurate on that. I believe 7 structures, and replacing the towers that were shown on that exhibit earlier, reconductoring, building to what we anticipate, or what I would anticipate the typical design to be for the new 345 kV double circuit line.
Okay, and you've already spoken to this a bit, but could you elaborate on which of the cost components that went into that $7 million estimate, which of those might overlap with the future project, or could all of them overlap?
Say a good portion of them, probably most of at least the material costs, although there may be slight differences at the endpoints due to that future rebuild not getting to just, build all fresh new line, in consecutively, having to tie into existing lines. So there is some added complexity involved. As I mentioned before, it's not exactly a perfect transfer of dollars from one project to the other. I can't say exactly how much off the top of my head.
Yeah, and I certainly don't want you to speculate, so if you don't know, please say so, but is it fair to say that most of that $7 million would offset future costs?
Would hope so. that would be we would try to design it such that it would be as efficient a transfer as possible. Again, we try to work with that other project team, understanding that our design is ahead of theirs. They may not have all of their details fully developed. So we would. I'm not on the on that engineering team, so it's but I can say that we would try to make sure that we are efficiently building in all the needs of that project.
Okay, so I think that that's plenty. That's all we had for you. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your 29-minute morning.
All right. So I did want to just clarify, have the witness clarify, when you're speaking about costs potentially, costs of the Osgood proposal potentially being, having the potential to offset the cost of this not yet applied for project. I just want to clarify, your understanding of that is any sort of offset that we're discussing would only be applicable if, should the commission approve that not yet applied for project along the same route that and ATC anticipates to indicate as its preferred route, being using that 230 kV line upgrade. Is it?
That's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a big assumption, I suppose, but
And just one other clarification: the $7 million cost that you estimated for this Osgood proposal, were you using? What timing assumptions were you using for construction and the in-service date? Was it the original timing that came in on the application, or were you using the upgraded timing for construction to begin second quarter of 2028 and in-service date in February 2029?
don't recall exactly. I believe, given the timing, it would have been the earlier in-service date, but
Okay, just wanted to check on that. Okay. All right, so any redirect?
None from me, Your Honor. No.
All right. Okay, thanks very much. Witness Nelson, you're excused.
thank you.
Your Honor, may I make a request off the record?
Let's go off the record. What do you got?
Just a 5-minute bathroom break.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Well, who do we have left from the ATC?
We have two left, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Katie Rasmussen and Craig Hendricks.
Okay. Yeah. Let's break for 5. Let's just make it 10 so we can get back and all be here at the same time. So,
Thank you.
yeah. So 11. Well, let's just make it 11:45. Okay, we're back, 11:45. Thank you for initiating that break, Attorney Rogers. I got another cup of coffee, so hopefully I'll be able to keep track of when we're on the record and when we're not on the record. I don't know what's
Well,
going
I'm
on.
trying to pay attention too, but I don't.
I
You
know
guys are you're speaking Greek to me. I just make sentences, you know.
I'm not expecting you to know. It's up to me to do that. So, looks like we're back together here. Let's get started with the rest of the applicant's witnesses.
Yeah, Judge, before I call the next witness, I just wanted to clarify one point related to Mr. Nelson's testimony.
Okay.
Just at the outset, when I was asking him questions about the gas pipeline, I think you had interjected and asked, clarifying what he meant by We Energies, and he said it was Wisconsin Electric Power Company. It was brought to my attention that the pipeline will actually be owned by Wisconsin Electric Gas Operations, which does business as We Energies, which I understand is an affiliate, but I just wanted to clarify that so we're clear.
Okay. Well, we discussed this yesterday in the office in a different case, but to my knowledge, Wisconsin Electric Power Company Gas Operations is a division of Webco, not a subsidiary or sister company. But so the way I understand it is that the entity is one and the same, but perhaps I'm incorrect. That's how I've always learned it, but things may have changed since then. So as far as I know, if someone's speaking of the gas operations, the entity is a legal entity of the gas operations is Webco, is Wisconsin Electric Power Company, but I guess so. I'm not sure if I agree with you, but I'm not sure if I have a definitive answer. But I do appreciate you raising the question. I think, as far as I know, Webco is the owner of the project, and I think it was also the applicant in that docket. So we'll go with Webco at this point.
Yeah.
And for our purpose, yeah. Go ahead.
You may be correct. I just wanted to raise it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the legal relationship either.
Yeah, I understand. Okay. And Mr. Myers, you have your hand up. Did you have something to add?
Yeah. I just wanted to ask a quick question before we continue on. I just want to confirm. So even though the construction start date has been moved to 2028, is the public service route decision still scheduled for September of this year?
Okay, I don't know if we can speak to the commission's scheduling, but the statutory deadline for getting an order out is whatever we have in place at this time. So that's triggered by the letter that we issued deeming the application complete, and then that's a 180-day deadline. And then I'm speaking at a turn here, but I believe we have an extension to that. So there's a 360 deadline. So that deadline is the one that we need to. The order has to issue by that date. So that has not changed, regardless of the schedule change that the applicant's asserting.
So if I understand, the current date could be pushed out another 180 days.
No, I don't think. So let's go off the record. So did we have an extension in this case?
We did.
We did. Okay, so that let me just get to that.
Do you want the reference number?
Sure, if you have it. Oh, so I'm looking at the memo extending the date. I can find that pretty quickly if that's. Okay. Yeah. So what the commission did under its authority.
What are you on?
No. We started this
Okay.
off. Did we start this off the record?
Yeah.
We did. Oh. No.
Well,
We were talking. Yeah. Let's go back on the record. So to clarify, Mr. Meyer's question about the decision date for the case. like I mentioned, we can't speak for when the commission will review the record or when an order will issue, except that according to the statutes, we need to issue an order by the date, by September 21st, 2026. And that's indicated in a memo that we've issued on January 12th in this docket, where we extended the deadline for the CPCN order date an additional 180 days. So first we started with a 180-day deadline. We added another 180 days, and then that's the deadline according to statute. It doesn't change. That date is not dependent on the applicant's schedule.
So, and again, I apologize,
No,
not
that's fine.
used to the legal talk here. So just to make sure, so September 21st, like that is like no more extensions after that.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. Please continue.
Yeah. I believe it's the simple answer. Yes, that's correct. Okay, so we will take our next witness.
Thanks, Your Honor. ATC calls Catherine Rasmussen to the stand.
See you there. I'm just going to pin you to my screen. All right. All right. I'll swear you in. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Ms. Rasmussen, did you file or cause to be filed direct and rebuttal testimony in this case?
I did.
And if I asked you the same questions in your pre-filed testimony today, would your answers be the same?
Yes.
Is the information in your pre-filed testimony true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I just had a handful of questions for this witness in response to Mr. Feltus's surrebuttal testimony, so it may help to bring that up so others can follow along. And we're starting on page 2.
All right, thank you. Go ahead.
So at page 2 of Mr. Feltus's surrebuttal, he states that Commission staff's recommended ad hoc reporting condition related to tree clearing activities during the April 1 to August 15th avoidance window is intended to encourage the applicant and its contractors to timely and actively consider mitigation options. How do you respond to that testimony?
As discussed in my rebuttal, ATC and our contractors already apply mitigation measures whenever tree clearing may occur during that avoidance period. And there is a project-specific avian mitigation plan filed with this project in Appendix F. ATC does comply with all federal and state laws and regulations regarding avian and bat species. And it's not clear why ATC and the contractors need to be encouraged to do something that is already happening.
Okay, if we go to pages 3 and 4 of his testimony, Mr. Feltus states that Commission staff does not typically know what exact actions ATC takes during construction to meet DNR and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service permits, and that the recommended reporting condition would help the Commission become aware of how recommendations and requirements are met. How do you respond to that testimony?
Yes, ATC would gladly arrange for Commission staff to come out and visit the field during tree clearing activities, including those that may need to occur during the avoidance period. That way you can see firsthand how the activities are conducted in compliance with all required permits and conditions. Seeing the field operations and being able to speak with employees of ATC and the contractors out in the field, I believe would be a more effective way for staff to learn about the vegetation management processes and be more effective than a reporting requirement.
So After reviewing commission staff's testimony here, has ATC's position on the proposed reporting condition changed?
No, regardless of if it's a proposed condition implemented ad hoc or through quarterly reports, the requirement would still be burdensome and unnecessary. ATC uses the standard order condition or ATC, I should say, supports that standard order condition used on previous ATC dockets, including 137 CE 205, 137 CE 210, and 137 CE 212. And that standard order condition language is, to the extent practicable, the applicant shall implement clearing and pruning of all tree species time of year restrictions from April 1 through August 15. So ATC's plans to implement mitigation measures wouldn't change regardless of the reporting requirements if the commission were to impose them.
Okay, and last question here. If we go to page 11 of Mr. Feltus's testimony concerning the quantities, just above the table here, line 11, starting there, he notes that the quantities presented in the data request responses for the CPCN proposed route differ between the third and fifth data request responses for some criteria. Can you just clear up why there are why those differences exist?
So the two reference data request responses each compare the original CPCN proposed route to a different potential alternative. So the triple circuit option, which was analyzed in data request 3.3, changes less of the originally proposed route than the Osgood parcel option analyzed in data request 5.2. So for this reason, the length of the original proposed route used for comparison purposes is different for each request response. That being said, upon further review, I did identify an error in the centerline length that ATC reported in the CPCN proposed route in comparison to the Osgood parcel option in data request 5.2. So in the context of that data request response, the centerline length for the CPCN proposed route should have been stated to be 4,685 feet. This means that the Osgood parcel option has a centerline length that is approximately 22 feet longer, not 732 feet longer for that option. The rest of the impacts were calculated correctly in that response.
Okay, thank you. I don't have anything else. The witness is available for cross.
All right, start with Cub.
Nothing from Cub.
Mr. Myers.
I don't have anything, Your Honor.
Commission staff.
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Good morning. I'm Sophia Rogers from commission staff. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So some follow-ups for you. Going back to witness Feltus's testimony, it sounds like you're recommending. Can you clarify as to your proposal? Are you proposing an informal training for staff, or are you suggesting that ATC provide staff with advance notice of any tree clearing outside of the or during the avoidance period, and to come out in each instance?
Yes, so that first option, more of an informal invitation to come out to the field to see how operations are conducted for vegetation management clearing. I know there's been a lot of questions concerning that. So I think it would be informative to see it firsthand.
Okay, and I'm sure staff would love to come out, but not for every single time that there's tree clearing, of course. So are you suggesting that there's no need for a report as long as we're more aware of policy?
I'm saying there's no need for a report. And also if staff would like to understand better how operations are completed, more of a general invitation, not as a requirement or an ordered condition that we would say staff has to come out instead of or issuing a report.
Okay, so we appreciate the invitation, and I think we can work offline to set that up. That does sound informative for staff. But going out just once for informational purposes isn't going to tell us how frequently tree clearing needs to be done during the avoidance period or what steps are being taken. So I'm a little confused as to I'm not sure how one replaces the other. Can you explain how going out just once would inform staff of how this condition is being implemented?
So there's been a lot of questions about mitigation measures in which we spell out in the avian mitigation plan submitted. And I think that witnessing firsthand environmental training that occurs in the field, perhaps if a nest is noticed in the field as active, then we can demonstrate how those mitigation measures are actively applied during the actual work.
Okay, let's talk about the aviation plan. And obviously that plan doesn't address bats, which is another concern here, but just in terms of bird mitigation for effects on birds, can you estimate the number of incidents that you might expect for tree clearing for a project of this size? Or if it's, let's start with that. Can you tell me how many calls you might get under that aviation plan for a project like this?
I'm gonna ask for some clarification as to what you mean by calls.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's go over to the aviation plan document. I think you said that it was, oh, the judge already has it pulled up, and Judge, okay, so it's Appendix F, Exhibit 9 of the application. And we're somewhat familiar with this document. We've seen it and appreciate it being provided. And it goes through the process of, or that ATC uses. I suppose it would be better for the witness to explain the purpose of the document. Do you mind doing that briefly?
Sure. The document describes many factors that go into avian planning. So in various sections of here, you'll see excerpts on what the different acts are that protect avians. And then also mitigation plans, how we maintain and operate the lines within the bounds of avian safety, different risks that transmission lines can impose to avians. And also in this specific plan, we show where we're presenting bird diverters for flight mitigation.
Thanks. And we're specifically, you raised this aviation plan specifically in the context of tree clearing for new construction. Can you point us to where that's addressed? Because this isn't maintenance.
Right. So if you can scroll down, please, I'd have to see it to know a little further. Oh, if we can pause. And if you can please scroll down more. If we could pause. Oh, I think we went too far. Here is a 6.2 disturbance. This section specifically talks about nesting birds, potentially being disturbed by construction activities during breeding season. In this paragraph, it also states trees and shrubs expected to be removed during vegetation management activities prior to construction will be visually inspected for in-use nests, and if discovered, avoided while the nests are in use. It also describes our coordination with the DNR for any sort of threatened, endangered, special concern species. And further down, I can't recall which section of the document we talk about. We discuss environmental training prior to clearing activities, as well as communication with our environmental monitors and the vegetation management crew. Thank you.
Was there more you wanted to look at on this page?
So I just wanted to note that we're at 7.2.4. The training section is one that the witness was mentioning.
No, there's nothing further that I wish to point out.
Okay. So is it accurate? Is it fair to say that the process for mitigation during the tree clearing avoidance period is to inspect the trees for nests and then avoid those trees?
For active nests, yes.
Okay. And about how many nests are typically found in trees? I don't know what kind of metrics you can offer, but can you give an idea of, say, 100 trees or a project of this size? Can you give us any idea of how many nests you might find?
I can't provide a guess for a project of this scope, no.
And is that when a nest is found, is the tree just avoided, or is there a phone call made about that nest?
So usually what would happen is the vegetation management crew would tell either the environmental monitor, which is staffed by ATC consultants, or directly call me in this case, the environmental project manager. And there would be a buffer put around that tree to avoid the tree. There's also, as part of that, we have a specific mapping layer in our online map system that is a live mapping system, so it's consistently updated, and we would use that to designate that area as additional avoidance, and those maps would be reviewed prior to work every day.
Okay, this is great. Can you explain a bit further what's an in-use nest? How does the trained personnel know what's in use versus what's maybe doesn't qualify?
So we'd either see a bird actively using that nest, or perhaps eggs or like baby birds inside there recently hatched. So that nest specifically would be monitored.
So if there's an organism in the nest that's in use, but if there's not, it's not gonna be protected.
Correct.
Okay, and then how long, can you tell me about the buffer and also I guess first tell me how long the nest might be avoided after the initial observation? Or
the nest would be avoided until the nest is abandoned. So as long as the nest is in use, if there's eggs in there, that is considered in use. So not until every bird has left the nest.
All right, and the buffer, can you clarify? Actually, I think we're fine on the buffer.
You wanted to ask how big the buffer was? Is that?
No, I think we're fine on that one.
Okay. All right.
Could you explain how the nests are being observed, are they being observed from the ground? Or are drones or ladders being used?
So there's a couple different ways. I am not aware of any drones being used, but they are certainly looked at from the ground level, and the vegetation management crew also has aerial equipment, so they can inspect from above at branch level as well.
Okay. And you already said you didn't know, you weren't able to provide any kind of, you weren't able to quantify how often a nest might be found. But it is something that you receive a call for, and it's something that goes into the mapping that ATC maintains, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I mean, would it be burdensome in any way for ATC to just report those numbers of nests? And the size of the tree clearing and, you know, the when it occurred, just those three things. So the number of nests, and size and timing.
So we don't have any mechanism in place right now that we use to quantify clearing as it occurs, or specifically, you know, on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis. So that would be a new to data collection point that we don't currently monitor.
Okay, so do you monitor, I suppose, the location and the time, but not the number of trees or the number of feet or acres covered, nothing about size. Is that right? Or did I hear you say, you said that there are maps?
Yes, we use maps.
Okay, so would ATC object to just producing the maps used during the tree clearing, providing that, you know, the time that the tree clearing occurred, the maps that were used, and then, you know, the number of nests that were identified?
So the way the maps are used right now, if we were to provide, say, a screenshot of that period of clearing, the only thing that would be visible would be the live nest icon. We don't graphically show in our maps what clearing has taken place or will take place. It's not updated in that manner.
Okay. Would ATC object to just providing, you know, the segment or some kind of descriptor of roughly where the tree clearing occurred without a map?
I'm just going to object because I don't know that this witness has authority to sort of
That's fair.
bind ATC to this. I'm not trying to be obstructionist, but
That's fair, David. May I rephrase the question? Would it be burdensome, in your opinion, for ATC to just provide the rough location, the segment, or some description of the location being cleared?
To clarify, this request is for clearing during that April to August window?
Yes.
And I guess what mechanism, again, I know we've discussed ad hoc and quarterly reporting. I'm just trying to understand exactly what that would look like.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking of a quick letter that says segment J was cleared during this period. Here's how many nests we found. Here's a map, a printout of this, you know, the screenshot of the nests that we cleared, and then, you know, here's what other mitigation measures we took, if there are any. Would that be burdensome?
I would say it's above the information we currently collect, so it would be something new, a new deliverable, which would take resources to commit to doing.
You don't currently collect anything about the location?
I mean, putting together the information in the requested format.
Well, the format, I mean, we're flexible in format. This is a new idea. So I'm just asking, how do you already collect some information? We'd like to receive it. Is there any format that would be agreeable in your mind?
I guess I'm going to object as vague. Like, what do you mean by agreeable? I think the question may need to be rephrased.
Okay.
I mean, does the witness understand the question?
Well, I think the term of art that's being traded here is what was burdensome and what might not be burdensome. That's the phrase that the witness is using. So, thinking if you want to couch your questions along those lines, at least we're sort of rooted in the testimony.
Okay, I can do that, Judge. So we know ATC has some information. Commission wants to see that. What's the least burdensome way that you can think of for us to get that information?
After all vegetation management has been completed, I think providing, and I'm just trying to come up with something on the fly here. Because I'm also thinking, so once we have a live mapped icon of a nest, that would go away once the nest is no longer active. So that doesn't become data that would remain in place.
Is ATC able to save that data?
Yes, we could catalog that data.
Would that be burdensome?
I think for this project, that would be easier to do than, some other larger projects. Assuming we can't avoid the clearance window from April to August, because that's, always the first goal.
Okay, well, staff is just proposing this idea for this project. And I guess what I would say is, if the commission were to order it and it became obvious that it had been burdensome or would be burdensome in a larger project, I think, that would come up in that other project docket. But for purposes of this project and this project size, it sounds like you're saying it's not too hard to provide the maps and the timing of the clearing. Is that right?
I would object to the extent that's mischaracterizing the witness's testimony. I don't know if the witness said that.
I'm asking the witness what she did say. So please correct.
Can you please repeat?
Let's have it read back.
Question about staff is just proposing this idea for this project, and I guess what I would say is if the commission were to order it and it became burdensome or would be burdensome, the larger project, that would come up in that other project docket. But for purposes of this project and this project size, it sounds like you're saying it's not too hard to provide the maps and the timing of the clearing. Is that right?
So I think we could generally provide, I'd have to think what that looks like for a map. And the timing would be limited to whether or not or I guess it would only be if it's in the restricted window, so that would be generalized by that time frame.
You can't provide the dates within that time frame, just that it took place within the time frame.
Yes.
Okay, I think we pressed you on this one enough. We can move on. We had just a couple of questions about your testimony. So we had a question about direct and then another on rebuttal. Let's start with the direct. I apologize. I've got just a note from staff. If you're not able to provide the times of, or I'm sorry, the dates of the tree clearing, could you at least provide the number of instances? As in, we had to do tree clearing during the period twice. Would that be easy to provide?
I think the response is more complicated than that because I don't know what an instance of clearing is. Work takes place over multiple days or weeks. I don't know if an instant would mean a segment of clearing, a day of clearing, and I think that would be complicated.
Could you provide any one of those, days or segments?
So are you asking if we would provide a segment as an instance of I'm sorry, I'm struggling to wrap my brain around it. Can you rephrase what that ask is?
Yeah, so we'd like to get an idea of how much tree clearing occurs during the avoidance period. And the how much is kind of open to interpretation. Like you said, that could be number of days that tree clearing occurred during that period. That could be number of segments. We could call them instances if that makes sense, but it doesn't sound like it does. So is there any way for us to find out how much based on information that you already have at hand?
I think that we could do it based on segment if we were clearing X segment during April to August. Yes, that makes sense.
Okay. Okay, great. And now we can really move on.
Can I just ask a follow-up about that? I'm sorry, but just in terms of the ATC's plans for tree clearing during the avoidance period, is that something that ATC knows in advance? And how much advance notice does it have when it goes to that, takes those actions?
Sure. So that schedule hasn't been determined yet. That's something that we would begin scheduling upon receipt of an ordered route. So that could be any time after that September date, we would begin that planning.
And how much advance notice does it have of its own activities? How much planning does it do before it goes into the field during the avoidance period?
That could change on a project to project basis. I think, with this project having more time to plan, we would know that months in advance, and that would be based on, many factors that may not become visible until closer to that April window. One of the things specifically I'm thinking about is a restricted window for a threatened endangered species that has the opposite window as the requested avian clearing window. So in cases like that, we might know earlier or we might know later, depending on working through that permitting with that permitting agency. So I'm sorry, that's kind of a complex way of saying probably months, but I can't nail down a more definite time.
Okay. But you would have some advance notice before going out into the field. I mean, I don't want to get into the whole process, but I mean, I'm assuming that before ATC has the work done, it knows the work needs to be done. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. So there's a period of time when it's aware that it's going to do work in the avoidance period and for it to actually take that work. So there is a period of time where it could provide, for example, commission notice that that will take place.
Yep. We are aware of the work that we would do before we go out and do it. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Go ahead, Attorney Rogers.
Thanks, Your Honor. So could we turn to, oh, you already have it up. Could we turn to page 15 of this direct testimony? And I just have a couple questions about the term incompatible woody vegetation. It's used on lines 5 through 6, or line 6, and then it's also, I have that it's used on line 9, or rather, woody vegetation is referenced. It's not incompatible woody vegetation on line 9. Do you see that? It says incompatible on line 6, but not on line 9.
I do.
I just want to clarify, does line 9, should that really say incompatible woody vegetation?
Yes.
Okay. Then can we also turn to rebuttal, page 4? And I promised we would move on, but this question actually follows from the same topic. So page 4, line 2 just says disruption to identified active nesting sites will be mitigated as discovered on a site-by-site basis and will be communicated using environmental training. And then you cite to the aviation plan. I was going to ask you to expand on that, but I think you already have through our other line of questioning. So we have what we need now. No further questions. Thanks very much for your cooperation.
Okay. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Thanks very much. Witness Rasmussen, you're excused.
Thank you.
Who's
Okay. We just have one more witness. We'd call Craig Hendricks.
Okay, see you there. Let me swear you in. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, go ahead.
All right, Mr. Hendricks, did you file or cause to be filed rebuttal testimony and one exhibit in this case?
Yes.
If I asked you the same questions in your pre-filed testimony today, would your answers be the same?
Yes.
And is your pre-filed testimony true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
All right. With that, the witness is available for questions.
All right, any questions? We'll start with Cub.
No questions from Cub.
All right, thanks. Mr. Myers?
Yes. Will Myers, representing Myers Forsyth.
Go ahead.
First question. So based off of the project is approved in September and the preferred route is chosen, not the Osgood portion, but the preferred route as intended. My question to you, Mr. Hendricks, is if eminent domain or whatever the heck has to happen happens, when would you approach us?
After we receive a written order, we would have the first step typically is we would have our appraiser contact you and invite you to accompany them on an inspection of the property. If you don't want to accompany the appraiser, they will perform their review of the property from road right away. So they will perform, so I guess your first contact will probably be from our appraiser.
And that appraiser is Atwell, correct?
No, they, as well as our acquisition firm. At this time, I don't believe we identified who our appraiser is going to be.
Okay. And please help me clarify here. I'm confused because if I remember correctly, in the mail, we received communication from a Atwell company that deals with acquisitions working on your behalf. Do you have, does this sound familiar?
Yes.
So they reached out to us, but you don't know at this time if they're going to be the ones ultimately responsible for said acquisitions.
They will be responsible for landowner outreach and acquisition discussions with landowners. They will not be performing appraisal tasks. So
sorry, did I interrupt you?
No, go ahead.
Okay, I understand that, but my question is, you've identified appraisal and acquisitions are two separate things. Understandable. We do not know the appraisal yet, but my question is, Atwell, who deals with acquisitions, has reached out to us, and yet now you're saying that they are not going to be the ones in charge of performing those duties. Can you please clarify?
I'm just going to object to the extent it misstates his testimony, but the witness can clarify.
Right. Okay. We'll note that and go ahead with your answer.
If I misspoke, I apologize. My intent was Atwell is the firm that we have hired to perform acquisition services for us. We have not identified, that I'm aware of anyway, we have not identified who the appraiser will be for your property.
Okay, understand. Thank you for clarifying. Going back to the timeline. So again, I ask, let's say the project is approved, or the preferred route as intended is approved in September. Usually how long of a turnaround will property owners, sorry, let me rephrase this. How much of a time frame from approval is there till landowners impacted hear from your acquisitions team or appraisal team? Sorry.
It depends on the project and it varies. So I'm not going to speculate on how long it would take for you to be contacted by our appraiser.
Are you able to speak to a previous project you've worked on? What was the time frame there?
It varies. It depends on the project. So I've seen as short as a month. I've seen as long as several months.
Okay, thank you. Second question. So, Mr. Hendricks, in your rebuttal document submitted March 18th, you claim it would be beneficial for us, the property owners, to work with your acquisition team. In my rebuttal submitted April 8th, I provide your team the option for us to grant you access as long as you or a representative of ATC sign a letterhead stating that no one from ATC will enter our land without an agreed upon time that is convenient for Myers Forsyth. Do you agree to these terms?
I'm going to object. I don't know that this witness has the authority to bind the company here and now to those terms.
I will.
All right.
I will send back another question. I understand that probably comes from legal, but if it is my understanding, Mr. Hendricks oversees acquisitions. So I think it would be a pretty yes or no answer. That is something we have done in the past or not. Can you comment?
I'm sorry, can you clarify the question?
So my question is, while I do understand it is a legal binding question, is that something that could be accommodated?
Again, I'm not in a position to make those commitments on behalf of the company.
So my question is, who then is in position?
I don't know. I'd have to ask a few people and say who could make that decision.
Okay.
I think Mr. Meyer's question also is inquiring about whether such commitment was ever provided in the past as well. Do you know of any examples where that occurred?
Can we just clarify what commitment we're talking about here?
Yeah, let's find it in the testimony. I think witness or Mr. Myers, you had indicated in your rebuttal you made a statement that you'd like the witness to comment on.
Correct. Your Honor. Yes, it should be. I think it was the last question. Don't have the page number in front of me directly, but I believe it was yes. Maybe it might be the page before this one. Paragraph lines 13 through 20, I think, right there. Essentially, what I'm just trying to get at is, in the mail, I don't know how many months ago, we were provided a official document from ATC saying something along the lines of, you grant us volunteer access to your land. There was a second option, and then there was a third option that said we do not grant volunteer access. Myers Forsyth chose the third option. We did not grant volunteer access. The question I'm trying to get at here is, rather than like a court order where, you lawfully force where your appraisal team forces their way onto the land so they can get an accurate appraisal of the land, trying to take the middle route here and just say, if, Myers Forsyth and ATC agree to, hey, we'll reach a time that is convenient for ATC's appraisal team to come onto our land, but in the meantime, even though you verbally said, hey, we agree to that, ATC will not come onto our property.
We are not going to come onto your property unless we have your permission. Now, if it's an appointment to meet with an appraiser, so you can accompany the appraiser, then yes, the appraiser would say, hey, I'm going to come next Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Is that convenient for you, Mr. Myers? And if so, great. They would not go on your property without your permission.
Okay. Just want to make sure
and that's not just for the appraiser, that's for anybody else on my team, the acquisition team.
And you also mentioned, witness Hendricks, that if access was not granted for the appraisal by the landowner, that the appraisal would be done at the property line or away, not on the property, but looking into the property. Is that fairly accurate way of describing what would happen?
Yes, they would be able to make a note in their appraisal that would say, hey, we weren't able to inspect the property, so our analysis was done by maybe from a neighbor's property if we have their permission, or from public right away.
Okay. And can you just describe, is there any negative consequences to the landowner for not allowing an appraisal to be done with access to the property?
I don't want to speak for the appraisers and the methodology they use to opine on valuation. But the more they see, the more accurate their analysis can be, more comprehensive. So I'll just leave it at that without being an appraiser.
Yeah, okay, thanks. So continue with your questions.
In regards to communication by the appraiser, who facilitates that? Is ATC, do you do that, or do we receive something in the mail? Do we have to reach out to them? Just please walk me through that process.
The appraisal company will contact you generally by letter saying, hey, we've been hired by ATC or by Atwell to perform an appraisal. I don't have the exact letter that they use, but they would reach out to you.
Understood. Before I yield back, Your Honor, I just would like to make one comment for the record.
Okay, well, you would have an opportunity to do that when it's your turn to take the stand. So I would encourage, please don't, enter evidence at this stage of the process. You'll be up next and can add information based on what you've heard today or the last filings that we've seen in the case. So, at this time, your presentation is simply asking questions of the witness.
Understood. Okay. With that, I yield back. Thank you.
Oh, thanks. All right. So, commission staff, any questions?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Is that all of ATC's witnesses?
It is, Your Honor, yes.
All right. So now it is Myers Forsyth's turn. So since you're not represented, I will take over the swearing in and just the introductory questions. And then you will have an opportunity, according to our process, witness Myers, you'll be able to add, like I mentioned before, you can add response to what you've heard today or any of the surrebuttal that was on file and we've received in the case. So with that understood, and just make sure you're unmuted. Yep, there you go. I'll swear you in, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm, tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do, Your Honor.
State your name for the record.
William Myers.
And you filed a direct testimony, rebuttal, and surrebuttal. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And I don't see any exhibits. Is that right?
No exhibits were submitted.
Okay, great. And those documents, are they complete and correct to the best of your knowledge?
They are, Your Honor.
Any corrections?
Aside from the ones previously discussed at the beginning of this meeting, there are no additional corrections foreseen.
Okay, perfect. So now it's your opportunity to provide, like I mentioned before, comments on what you've heard today or the rebuttal. So please go ahead.
So I'll be very short here because I have to get back to my day job. We hear a lot about cost. Well, actually, I'm going to back up and just say this. To put it mildly, my wife have been through the absolute ringer in the last year with this. For anyone who's ever built a house knows how stressful it is. And now with this debacle constantly hanging over our heads, it hasn't been easy. And to say the least, we aren't happy with it. Now, in the beginning, when we were notified of the project, we tried our best to work with the applicant's community liaison at the time. We provided them documents, came up with a solution, display to them, hey, we're not just building a house here. We're going to have a lot of land improvements here, expensive, very, very expensive land improvements. This isn't just a cornfield that all the current Google Maps show. It's obviously at this point, it's no longer going to be that. And even then, rather than going directly through, they moved the line just to the north of the property. Still very, 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 very disruptive to the property, its value, our well-being. I understand ATC on your side, you have a lot of experts, been doing this for decades, but we're there. Like, we see what's going to happen. We're not sitting back in an office and just, responding to this guy who's fighting for his property life here and well-being in the future. So the point I want to make here today is I've been hearing a lot about costs. Now, fortunately, frankly, we've gotten this far with the Osgold parcel option. I hope every single day that the Public Service Commission, in its infinite wisdom, chooses that option. Because as my wife and I have been saying since day one, there's our property, and then to the north of us is a huge field. I know you have the gas line going in, but still plenty of room to work with. And I hope that in the last couple of months, between the rebuttal, surbuttal, what have you, talking with our, interviewing ourselves, that you've seen that, you know, unlike a lot of residents in the Caledonia area that I've seen on other calls where they're helpless, like, no, like, we are resourceful. And as I hope that you've realized, we're kind of a pain to deal with. And keep in mind, it's not just us, it's our neighbor across the street too. You know, you talk about costs, $7 million figure in order to do the Osgood parcel option. It's not going to be cheap with the preferred route. You know, you're talking about increased costs by delaying. Now, I know there was a lot of back and forth. As a commodity buyer, it's name of the game. The longer you wait, the things become more expensive. And similar goes with our land. You know, we're pushing back. We're not, you know, if an appraiser wants to come in after all is said and done, the Public Service Commission does choose the preferred route, that's fine. But when you're talking cost figures, don't just think about materials costs. Think about land acquisition. You know, as I've stated in some emails to the community liaison and our public, to your knowledge in here, you know, our home alone, we sunk over $1 million worth. And I will not tell you how much we also bought the land for. And I also will not tell you how much money we're going to sink in with future projects, including putting a permanent structure in the preferred route's way. So knowing all of this, especially knowing the impact that's going to happen to our neighbors as well, I would heavily push, frankly, demand the Public Service Commission pushes ATC to basically not even consider the preferred route at this point. It should be the Osgood parcel option all along. I understand it's going to impact other property owners that may have not been necessarily initially impacted, but it's cornfield at the north of us. Like, that's it, you know. And I know many folks in the past have said, well, you can continue your normal operations, you know, even with an easement. But, you know, when we're talking permanent structures, you know, other large vegetation like trees. And also I mentioned too, our utility lines, our buried utility lines are pretty much right exactly where the line is going to, where the preferred line is going to go. There's going to be so much disruption to our land. And honestly, like, just get ready for a fight if you choose the preferred route. Like, we are not going to go quietly. The amount of money you're going to have to put forward to either take portion or all of it because of the heavy impact, it's going to be huge. And so again, I just cannot say it enough. Push the parcel Osgood option at this point. I said before, it is the only option. I know for a fact the alternate route is not even going to be considered. It's required by law to have one. That goes across 4 or 5 other people's properties. That's out the window. So I know where this is headed. And that's why I've been fighting so hard for this. And like I said, it's the amount of emotional trauma that this has put my wife and I through cannot even be put into words. I'd like to rant more, but like I said, we've already gone past, so I yield back.
All right, thank you. So at this point, any questions for the witness or with the applicant? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, Judge. None from the applicant, no.
All right, Cub
No questions from Cub. Thank you.
and commission staff.
None from staff.
All right, that's it then. Thanks, you're excused. And yeah, if you can, it sounded like you had somewhere to go. I'd encourage you to stay. I guess I'm not going to require you to stay, but we still have the presentation of commission staff. So it'd probably be in your best interest to stay for that. So let's continue. Let's move on then with commission staff witnesses.
Commission staff calls DATCAP witness Kirsten Biefeld.
All right, see you there. Raise your right hand. And do you swear or affirm, tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
All right, go ahead.
Please state your name.
My name is Kirsten Biefeld.
Did you prepare and file or cause to be filed direct DATCAP be filed and EX DATCAP AIS in this docket?
Oh, I didn't hear you. Did everyone?
Did I
Yes.
cut out? Oh,
I didn't hear you. Did everyone hear that answer?
I heard her.
You did. Okay.
me or the witness?
The witness.
Okay. Witness be filed, you said yes. Okay. And are the statements and representations in your testimony and exhibits true and correct?
Yes.
Do you have any additions or modifications to your testimony or exhibit at this time?
I do. I have a minor correction in addition to note.
Go ahead.
So it was recently brought to my attention that the general route descriptions in the AIS exhibit did not include segments T, U, and V. I want to note we did analyze the data we received from the applicant for these segments, and this information is included in the general analysis and total acreage totals. It just, however, was not discussed when we generally discuss what segments were included as part of the project. So with that, we will submit a revised exhibit correcting this to the docket with the correct route segment descriptions after the hearing.
Okay, so just so I understand, so there'll be a new AIS document filed?
Yeah, yep, a new exhibit, just to correct that.
Okay, all right. So then, yeah, that's fine. Well, let's just go off the record for a second. So where would we see the changes?
So this would occur within the project summary, within section.
You're off still?
Yeah, I think we could
Okay.
be off, just so we all are aware of what we're expecting to see.
So, like for this example, the primary route is composed of C, D, E, F, and G. It does not include, oh gosh, which is the, sorry, trying to find my notes. So it should say like C, D, E, F, G, and U. Alternate route should be H, I, J, K, L, M, N, and V. Common route should be A, B, O, P, Q, R, S, and T. So
Okay.
it's just missing basically the actual description of like the segment names included, but we did receive information for those segments and did analyze, and our totals that are presented in the testimonial like include the actual data regarding those.
Okay. And then just throughout the sections when you're talking about
Yep, like you're
describing
correct.
the routes, you'll see the additional segments included.
Yes.
Okay, all right, that's fine, thanks. So yeah, if you could refile the actual impact statement and then and the exhibit as well, once you have the statement on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay, so post that and the exhibit for it.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
All right. So let's get back on the record. Anything else? Attorney Rogers, did you have anything else?
I think there was something else that witness Beefield wanted to clarify or comment on.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yes. So I additionally wanted to provide context that the AIS analysis and agricultural acreage impact findings are based on project data provided to DATCAT by the applicant on the original notification date of August 26, 2025, and updated materials provided on October 10th, 2025. As such, our analysis did not include the segments E and F modification options, and I could not opine on all potential agricultural impacts that may occur if one of those was selected at this time. In general, I wanted to note that as part of standard practices, the AIS program recommends edge of field siting and limiting the total number of towers in an agricultural field to the degree possible. If one of these modifications in the form of pushing an existing line further into a field and introducing another transmission line and associate structures onto the same field were put in place, it could greatly limit the navigability of farm equipment around the two separate lines, disrupt current agricultural practices, as well as increasing the amount of unfarmable land surrounding the towers that farming equipment would have to avoid for safety concerns. Additionally, if the commission were to choose a route modification, then DATCAP would look to be re-notified directly by the applicant with any updated project routing information to determine if there are significant impacts that would require an addendum to the published AIS with consideration of new agricultural impacts, and any resulting analysis, if determined required, would be shared with the applicant, the affected land owners, and the commission.
All right. Any additional comments?
No, that is all.
Available for cross.
All right, start with the applicant.
Nothing from ATC, Your Honor.
Cub.
Nothing from Cub.
Mr. Myers.
Nothing from Myers Forsyth.
All right. Well, hearing nothing, we can excuse you. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Commission staff calls PSC witness Nicholas Brennan to the stand.
Okay. See you there. All right, welcome. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, go ahead.
Can you please state your name for the record?
Nicholas Brennan.
Did you file or cause to be filed direct PSC Brennan and EXPSC Brennan 1?
I did.
And can you also sponsor the completeness exhibit, the DRR exhibit, and the public comments exhibit for us?
I can.
And are the statements and representations in the testimony and exhibits you filed in this case true and correct?
They are.
Do you have any additions or modifications at this time?
I do not.
Open for cross.
Okay, so before we do that, I just wanted to mention the public comment exhibit. We'll be collecting those written comments, like we mentioned at the beginning. That document will include links to IRF, to the public comments filed during the notice of hearing comment period, and appearance slips that include comments or attachments that we collect during the public hearing. So I'll review the list of comments, and the ones I find acceptable will be contained in the exhibit and provided to the commissioners for their review of the record. So with that, do we have any cross? Start with the applicant.
Nothing from ATC.
Cub.
Nothing from Cub.
Myers Forsyth.
Nothing for us, Your Honor.
All right. And with that, nothing else. So you're excused. Thanks.
Commission staff calls PSC witness Andrew Kraft.
There you go. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Go ahead.
Witness Kraft, did you file or cause to be filed direct PSC Kraft?
Yes.
Are the statements and representations in the testimony you filed true and correct?
Yes, but I have 3 corrections.
Go ahead.
The first correction is on page 3, line 2. The original text is alternative and needs to, the original text is alternative that needs to be replaced with proposed. This site is on the proposed route and the alternative was incorrect. And then I have 2 more corrections related to that, the same thing. Page 4, line 7, alternative replaced with proposed. And last on page 4, line 8, alternative replaced with proposed.
Do you have any other additions or modifications to your testimony at this time?
No.
Open for cross.
All right. Let me note the refiling will be needed. Let me just ask, when was the errors discovered for this?
Oh, week ago.
So we're, I think, having a bit of a learning curve with corrections and didn't make that correction on time in writing.
Okay.
Had to do it today.
Just note that for the future then, please.
Yep.
All right, any cross from the applicant?
No, Your Honor.
Cub,
No, Your Honor.
Myers Forsyth.
No, Your Honor.
Okay, you're excused, thanks.
Commission staff calls PSC witness Kyle Feltes, who's here with me in the office.
Okay, switching things up here.
Yeah. Here he is.
All right, swear you in, raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm, tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Please state your name for the record.
Kyle Feltus.
Did you prepare and file or cause to be filed direct and serve rebuttal and the EA exhibit in this case?
Yes, I did.
Are the statements and representations in the testimony and exhibits you filed in this case true and correct?
Yes, with the caveat of the corrections that I had filed in the motions for the direct answer rebuttal.
Okay, and do you have any additions or modifications to your testimony or exhibits at this time?
I do have a modification to previous testimony based on the discussions here today.
Go ahead.
I would like to maintain my previous recommendations for the ad hoc notifications regarding the tree clearing conducted during the tree clearing avoidance period. I will also note that I provided a recommended alternate condition, which would instead require that documentation to be added to the relevant quarterly reports. However, based on what we've heard today, and in an effort to reach a form of the condition that the applicant does not find overly burdensome, I would offer the following order condition, which would require reporting as part of the quarterly reports or as a sort of summary report provided at the end of the April 1st through August 15th avoidance period. So that condition is as follows. Provide documentation of any tree clearing or pruning activities occurring during the April 1st through August 15th avoidance period. The documentation shall indicate the general locations cleared or pruned, any mitigation actions implemented, and relevant wildlife incidents that occurred, such as the quantity of trees in which active nests or bat roosts are identified, and whether those trees were avoided in any capacity.
Okay, open for cross.
All right, applicant?
Nothing from ATC.
Cub?
And nothing from Cub.
And it looks like we have a new face here for Williams Forsythe. Can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, yes, I'm Caitlin Forsythe, so I'm the other side of the party.
Okay.
But
Do
we
you
have no cross-examination questions, so.
Okay, thank you. All right, with that, you're excused. Thank you.
Thank you.
Witness Feltus.
Commission staff calls PSC witness Fabio Mora Arrieta.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
I can, yep. I got you there. So I'm going to swear you in. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
Please state your name for the record.
Fabio Mora Arrieta.
Did you file or cause to be filed direct testimony in this docket?
Yes.
Are the statements and representations in your testimony true and correct?
Yes.
Do you have any additions or modifications at this time?
No.
No further questions. Open for cross.
All right, any questions from the applicant?
No, Your Honor.
Cub?
No, Your Honor.
And Myers Forsythe.
No, Your Honor.
All right, thanks. You're excused.
Commission staff calls DNR witness Jerry Rodermacher to the stand.
Is my camera really dark?
Well, off
It
the
is.
record. Yeah, you look a little, yeah, there we
I
go.
don't
A little better.
not understanding why. That's what I always do. I don't know why it's not working well today.
It seems that I've adjusted a little bit, maybe just had to take time to adjust.
New
Some of this
laptop is coming anytime, so.
Some of these things have a mind of their own, I think. Well, let's get back on the record. I'll swear you in. Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm, tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Please state your name for the record.
Jerry Rodermacher.
Did you prepare and file or cause to be filed direct and sir rebuttal testimony in this docket?
Yes, I did.
Are the statements and representations in the testimony you filed true and correct?
Yes, they are.
Do you have any additions or modifications at this time?
No, I do not.
No further questions open for cross.
Okay. Any questions from the applicant?
No.
Cobb
No questions.
and Myers Forsyth.
No, Your Honor.
All right. Thanks. You're excused.
Thank you.
Commission staff calls DNR witness Stacy Rowe to the stand.
Are you there? Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm, tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Go ahead.
Please state your name.
Stacy Rowe.
Did you prepare and file or cause to be filed direct testimony in this docket?
Yes, I did.
Are the statements and representations in the testimony you filed true and correct?
Yes, they are.
Do you have any additions or modifications to your testimony at this time?
No, I do not.
Did you hear the discussion of the potential or commission staff's proposed order condition on reporting tree clearing and pruning outside of the avoidance period?
Yes, I did.
Do you wish to comment?
My only comment is that I am fully supportive of Kyle Feltus's new proposed order condition.
Okay. No further questions. Open for cross.
Okay. I just wanted to, maybe I'm confused now. You mentioned, Attorney Rogers, that it was outside of the avoidance period?
I'm sorry. During the avoidance period. Sorry.
I thought I was having trouble. So with the understanding that we meant, Attorney Rogers meant to say during the avoidance period, is your answer the same, Witness Rowe?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Oh, all right. Okay, so any cross? I'll start with the applicant.
No, Your Honor.
Cobb?
No questions from Cobb.
Myers Forsyth?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thanks. You're excused.
Thank you.
And is that all of commission staff witnesses?
It is. Yep.
All right, great. Okay, so so we have all of our witnesses checked in. We'll just expect those refilings as provided in the pre-hearing conference memo. The applicant will be checking in with us as well with respect to I forgot exactly what I called it, but the map exhibit that we discussed at the beginning of the hearing. Otherwise, anything else we need to address before we adjourn? No?
Nothing from ATC, Judge.
Okay. Don't forget, briefing deadlines and the other post-hearing provisions are in the pre-hearing conference memo, so please review that for your information. And we'll see some of you on tomorrow for the public hearing session. So thanks very much, everyone. Take care, and we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks, Your Honor.